For the majority of the 20th century, Disney animation studios dominated the industry they had created. Their hand-drawn cell animations, with engaging and emotional stories, dazzled the public and made them one of the most successful studios in the world. But after the death of Walt Disney in 1966, they struggled to maintain the same creative spark. By the 1970s, the company, once known for its innovative storytelling and artistic style, had settled into formulaic, easy money films, ignoring the public's call for further innovation and artistic development. The world needed a new revolution in animation to fill the hole, but no one expected it would come from 3D animation.
At the time of Disney's decline, Edwin Catmull was revolutionizing the computer graphics industry. At the University of Utah, he moved from simple 3D rendering, which was already a new idea, into animation. He developed and applied key features in animation such as Z-buffering, the way computers can see depth, texture mapping, and motion tweening, which allows computers to flawlessly render frame-by-frame animations. Catmull's dissertation was a 45-second animation portraying a 3D model of his hand contorting in different ways. The hand was such a revolutionary feat that it was used in the 1976 movie Futureland. Due to his success in animation, Catmull, accompanied by a number of his colleagues, would eventually move to Lucasfilm. There they formed the Graphics Group, a research subsidiary that was created to develop video editing software and explore the use of CGI animation in film. The group soon began working on creating its first short film to display the level of technological innovation they had achieved. Meanwhile, another future Pixar member, John Lasseter, was starting as an animation student at the California Institute of the Arts. Soon after graduating, he was hired by Disney to work as an animator and story designer. Lasseter was impressed by 3D animations such as the Tron light cycle and wanted to incorporate them into his next film. His pitch involved modifying a movie already in production, titled The Brave Little Toaster, by adding 3D animation.
Walt Disney had always tried to get more dimension in his animation. And when I saw these tapes, I thought, this is it. This is what Walt was waiting for.
However, this pitch was rejected by the company's executives because they wanted to stick to Walt Disney's formula. Lasseter believed that the studio had strayed from Disney's philosophy of exploration and began to rebel. He would soon be fired. The stage was set for the first major encounter in Pixar history between two of the soon-to-be Keystone members of Pixar, John Lasseter and Ed Catmull. When Catmull found out Lasseter had been fired, he extended him an offer to work freelance for Graphics Group.
As soon as Lasseter arrived, he shifted the entire dynamic of Graphics Group. He took their short film, My Breakfast with Andre, and proceeded to rework the project. Taking the lead on story development, Lasseter tried to create more emotional and relatable characters. He redesigned the main character Andre, and added a second character, Wally B. The completed short film, The Adventures of Andre and Wally B, premiered on July 25, 1984 at the SIGGRAPH conference in Minneapolis. People were shocked at how dynamic the characters and story appeared. There was one viewer, however, that was not pleased. George Lucas did not see any future for fully 3D animated films. For 2 years, the Graphics Group struggled to find a financial backer to believe in the future of 3D animation. From probiotic companies to General Motors, the group had many deals fall through. However, on February 3, 1986, they were purchased by Steve Jobs, who would take over as CEO. The group was then renamed to the Pixar Graphics Group after their animation engine, whose name came from a portmanteau of a fake Spanish word Pixar and laser. Lasseter did not waste any time. He started working on a short film about a pair of living desk lamps that interacted with the objects in their environment. The 2-minute film, Luxo Jr, was considered a breakthrough in computer animation due to the human-like behavior of the lamps and the interesting relatability the characters had to the viewers. It became the first CGI film nominated for an Academy Award. Lasseter, Catmull, and Pixar continued the production of short films. Released in 1988, Tin Toy tested the ability of the RenderMan engine to create realistic animation. Despite all of Pixar's success in animation, Pixar ran at a deficit from its initial purchase in 1986, which accumulated to over $50 million in losses. Jobs wanted to sell what he viewed at the time as a poor asset, but there were no takers. While Tin Toy received an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film, the plasticky appearance of the baby still bothered Lasseter.
So at that time, when we rendered things, everything kind of looked plasticky. So, what if the characters were made of plastic? What if they were toys?
Thus, the idea for Toy Story was born.
Because Pixar had demonstrated the potential of 3D animation, Disney became interested in funding a full-length 3D animated film. In 1991, Jobs made a deal with Disney that enabled Pixar to produce 3 full-length films, starting with Toy Story. Disney would have control of marketing and distribution and would take 84% of the profits, but Pixar was still able to maintain their creative integrity, something that would become instrumental to their success. Despite their autonomy, Pixar exchanged key ideas with Disney. For example, during early development of Toy Story, the film had a very different plot and message. It didn't really resonate well until Disney's head of animation, Jeffrey Katzenberg, suggested that Pixar make the two main characters into rivals. The exchange was not limited to plot. 2D Disney animators and 3D Pixar programmers worked together to fine-tune the technical features of the film. Another key development for the film came from the concept of the Brain Trust, a group that started out with 5 members: Lee Unkrich, Andrew Stanton, John Lasseter, Joe Ranft, and Pete Docter. The group would meet, watch clips from the film, and exchange ideas. Members were allowed to speak their minds, and the entire group recognized that any criticisms were for the betterment of the film.
But it was that ongoing continuum of a core group working together that made Toy Story possible.
The final story told of a toy cowboy named Woody who was usurped as his owner's favorite toy by an upstart spaceman named Buzz Lightyear. What really stood out was not the 3D animation, but the charming story of rivalry, growing up, and accepting your role.
We over and over again try to explain to people that it's not the technology that makes a Pixar film what it is. Technology plays a significant role. Nobody's naive about that. But it's really all about the story.
Lasseter's story, combined with Catmull's technology and Jobs' business bravado, allowed for Pixar to explore the field of 3D animation and create a full-length film that was not only technologically impressive, but emotionally impactful. The movie was a massive and unprecedented success. Loved by both children and adults, Toy Story was the highest-grossing movie of the year and won an Academy Award for Special Achievement. This was a huge milestone, proving the viability of 3D animation. After the completion of Toy Story, Pixar moved on to complete the other 2 movies in their Disney deal. Their main project, A Bug's Life, pushed the bounds of what computer animation could do. The movie included an impressive amount of characters and figures in each scene, with armies of ants that challenged the capabilities of computer rendering at that time. A Bug's Life demonstrated the ability of the Brain Trust to tie together many technical features and competing ideas into a unified story. At the same time, Disney also wanted Pixar to work on a sequel to their smash hit Toy Story. They set up a B team headed by newly inducted Pixar member Ash Brannon. They felt that it would provide new employees a good way to practice while still maintaining Pixar's story-centric approach. The development of the film progressed, but it didn't meet Pixar's standards of quality. During a pre-screening, Pete Docter requested an extension from Disney executives. They originally would not award it because they felt the film was good enough. However, Lasseter then offered to take over production of the film. Lasseter's team worked around the clock to remake entire portions of the storyline. This was the first major creative crisis at Pixar, but it also established a brand new idea in the filmmaking industry. It was revolutionary that a studio was willing to delay a guaranteed blockbuster to improve the film's quality up to their own standards. To this day, Toy Story 2 is noteworthy for being one of the only sequels on par with the original movie. By the time Toy Story 2 was released in 1999, Pixar had become a legitimate animation studio to be reckoned with.
On May 5, 2006, Pixar was officially purchased by Disney. This began a new golden age for both animation studios under the leadership of Catmull as the president of Disney Animation and Lasseter as the chief creative officer. While Pixar continued to act as an independent entity, Lasseter and Catmull continued exchanging ideas with the minds of Disney. The first feature film released by the Catmull-run Disney Animation Studio was Bolt, a departure from Disney's 2D style animation into 3D.
Pixar has gone on to make 16 feature films and inspired a revolution in filmmaking. Their films have been nominated for 52 Academy Awards, of which they've won 15. Their films include Monsters, Inc., WALL-E, Finding Nemo, and Up. Since Pixar, multiple successful 3D animation studios have been founded, including DreamWorks Animation, Sony Pictures Animation, and Blue Sky Animation.
Everything that came out of Pixar was deemed to be like the pinnacle of what was going on in computer animation at the time.
Since Toy Story, a 3D animation revolution, from CGI special effects to fully 3D animated movies, has swept across filmmaking. Pixar holds a place in history because they explored 3D animation when no one else would. The encounter between Lasseter, Catmull, and Jobs reinvigorated animation and caused a massive exchange in animation style and philosophy going into the 21st century. In the past 20 years, Pixar's films have gone from a technological marvel to an art form that creates vast make-believe worlds for millions to enjoy. In the words of Walt Disney,
"It's kind of fun to do the impossible."